October 2006, Derek Whitfield at Holmes Chapel, Cheshire, England, talking about Leftwich Hall. No one knows precisely where the hall was located, although the general area is known. We don't even know for sure what the hall looked like. There is one picture that was taken from Hansel's History of Cheshire, about 1880, which depicts the hall, taken from an old woodcut, but we don't know how old the woodcut was or whether it's artistic licence or accurate. However, Cheshire's famed historian, Dr. George Ormerod, in his History of the County Palatine of Cheshire, gives a written description, and he is alleged to have seen everything that he wrote about, so it can be believed. He says, the former mansion was a quadrangular building of timber and plaster, at one corner of which was a square stone tower with machicolated battlements, the original fabric of which appeared to be of considerable antiquity. Quite an important point. The picture from the woodcut is reproduced on the American's marker stone that did stand on that site and is filmed and shown later on in this film. The tower is quite clearly shown on it. If there was a tower at Leftwich, it's fairly unique. There's only one other surviving one in Cheshire, a place called Doddingham, about 5 miles southeast of the third of the witch towns, Nantwich. The towers were known as peel towers or tower houses, and they were a medieval device into which the lord of a manor and his family could retire if they were attacked by marauding gangs of brigands or whatever. There's perhaps scope for one at Leftwich today. This is shown at the end of a survey part of this film, that's Doddingham Hall. A group of American members of the Leftwich family, after some discussion, decided to fund a geophysical survey of the believed site of the hall to see if anything could be found. The survey was commissioned from the University of Manchester with the permission of the two site owners, Vale Royal Borough Council and the Church of England, because there's a small chapel, or was again, on that site, the Church of the Good Shepherd. The team that were going to do the work was to consist of one experienced archaeologist with a technician who designed the equipment himself and also an archaeologist, and 3 mature students, adults, in the final year of a degree course, which I believe they'll pass with some distinction sometime later. The hall is believed to have stood in this area, the green area in the centre of Leftwich, from evidence, stones found in the area, and anecdotal evidence from the people who found the original old hall farm, who said it had been built on the site of the hall. Whether that was on or near to isn't known. The general area, the dark shading and the unshaded properties, are the difference between those owned by the local authority and those that are privately owned. The lower portion of this site is owned by the Church of England, and in the centre of it stood, it has since been demolished, a small local church known as the Church of the Good Shepherd. The northernmost portion of this is owned by Vale Royal Borough Council, and originally there was a wood that ran from this corner down to about here, which was adjacent to the gate to Old Hall Farm, a teardrop shaped wood. Of that, about 6 trees have survived. The rest were destroyed in a gale in the 1960s. It must be remembered that up to the 1950s this was all open countryside. The intention was to survey this part of the site only, which is where we believe the hall stood. The American marker is about there. There's the church. So we could only do the area around there, and that's shown on the later film. That was the sole intention, but to use 2 searches, a resistivity survey and a magnetic survey. In the event the magnetic survey couldn't be done because the instruments were going haywire, we later found this was because there was slag that had been used in part of the farm building that was taken from an iron foundry and was high in magnetic material, therefore. So we will move on to the survey itself, the film of the survey, after which is shown film of Doddingham Tower, the other house tower south of Nantwich, which is on private land, Doddingham Hall, and I had to get permission from the site owner, and you'll hear his estate agent's voice giving me historic detail when we had a look, but it would give you a good idea what could have stood there and what the search was intended to find the remains of. Friday morning, 18th of May 2001. On the site of Leftwich Hall, Leftwich, Cheshire, England, typical day, blowing half a gale, and it's been raining heavily too. A team from Manchester University are on site to do a geophysical survey to see if any traces of Leftwich Old Hall can be found. The Church of the Good Shepherd is the Leftwich place of worship that belongs to the parish church of Doddingham, St Wilfrid's Doddingham being the parent parish of Leftwich. Unfortunately, the area has a lot of problems with use, and the building shows it. The gentleman in the centre is Keith Maud of Manchester University, the Department of History, Art and Archaeology, and the leader of the team who are to do the survey. They're at present marking out the part of the site to establish a grid pattern to work on. The Church of the Good Shepherd again. There are perhaps some doubts about its future. Unfortunately, from our point of view, it stands smack bang in the middle of the site, as does the tarmac car parking area. The tree there is a fruit tree that stood in the orchard of Old Hall Farm, which from the maps that we have is also the same site as the orchard of the Old Hall. It proves that we're at least in the right area. And the age of that tree is uncertain, but it's been there a considerable while. Is this part of the grid, Keith?
Well, we'll do this on this side, yeah.
Which part of the survey is this?
This is the resistivity.
The resistivity?
Yeah,
Which?
resistivity.
Which does?
Which measures the resistance in the ground it's measuring.
Right.
So that you can pick up walls, ditches, and you can tell the difference between the resistance.
Right.
The wall obviously won't allow the electricity to flow through it.
Right.
Whereas a sort of something, maybe a ditch, that's got soils in it that are not very compact,
Okay.
will allow it to go through. So you get differences in electrical resistance, and then you put it through the computer, and it fiddles about with the numbers basically and produces a picture.
Right.
And so you can get these high and low resistance patterns.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it works very well. Very simple, but very good. Have you found some?
No, I've got some wire. No, that's good, not the one.
Not at all, no. It's a theodolite or a total station, and we use it to survey the ground. And we can make a plot of the actual field itself.
Right.
And then put the grid in the plot, and it's all to scale. You see them using it on work sites, building sites. It's just a surveying instrument.
Right.
And I'm just setting it up now to so it knows where it is and I can get on with the survey.
Keith taking readings along the grid. St Wilfrid's, Doddingham. The steeple can just be seen behind the building there, half a mile to the south of this site. What's Keith doing, Debbie?
Keith is walking around with a what we call a detail pole.
Right.
And I'm focusing on the little prism. This machine provides an infrared beam out to the prism and reads all the measurements, its height, distance, so we can actually plot it
Okay.
on the computer.
Thank you.
We'll draw like a plan. This from this we'll be able to get a plan
Yeah.
and a 3D image as well of the heights of the ground.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
The site of the hall's on sloping ground downwards to the north. In the background there is the edge of the American family's Leftwich marker stone. The little church of the Good Shepherd stands on the centre of the rectangular plot, and the hall would have covered most of this. What's this, Malcolm?
It's what?
What's this?
Setting up the worst bit. Find out where my 18 mark is. That should be something like. Don't show me ball bit, will you? See, don't show me ball bit.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of it. In the corner by the tree there is where the drive came onto the hall site from London Road. This is looking westwards. The range of hall buildings came across the grassy area here, through where the American marker stone is, with Keith still at it, and finished about here where the little is. The small rectangular grass plot here is, I believe, where the pond lay that's shown on every map of the hall. That was the eastern end of the hall. The building's behind a retirement bungalow. View of the site from the south. We've had the council's road sweeper, grass cutter, full treatment today. There's some fine sandstone blocks here that edge the driveway to the little church. Many of them are carved. It's not known where they came from, but it is possible that they're from either the hall or Doddingham church, because the man who did the rebuild in Victorian times lived at the old hall farm at the time.
And all around here.
Well, from, I don't think you could see down to that, right to that corner where the grass switches, and then round the grass to more or less where the lampstand it is, and then you want these other 3 trees. That sewage manhole.
Well, it's kept fine for us anyway, Keith.
So I've got planning.
Like the hat. Malcolm started on the other side. Success.
No. Don't show me bald bit again.
Well, here we are, folks. Fine team from Manchester University. Malcolm doing his best to hide Debbie. Debbie doing her best to hide behind Malcolm. Are we going to shout the other names out?
Rob.
It's all gone quiet.
You've forgotten the name.
I know the guy on the right. That's our friend Keith. Just think of it. Give them all a good laugh in America.
That's right. Should we all wave? Give a wave.
Anyway, you've done a good morning's work. Thanks. All the way to Virginia this is going. How's that then, Keith? Lovely. This is the Peel Tower, or Tower House, at Doddington, a few miles south of Manchester, Nantwich, home of the Broughton Dells.
Del Broughton.
I'm wrong again. Believed to have been built about 1300, and the top was modified, the extra battlements, in the 1600s. The effigy at the base is one of the...
One is Thomas Dell's.
Thomas Delves.
One of the 4 squires with Edward the Black Prince of Wales.
One of the 4 squires who fought with the Black,
The Black Prince in France.
In France. Looking on the other side of the north face, there's another of the squires and another entrance to the ground floor. The balustrade again was added in the 1600s. The original square shape is the medieval one. The tower.
Pardon?
And I'm told now that there's just the ground floor only, the middle floor has been removed. Again, the railings surrounding it keep us out, but it's there to prevent vandalism. The door that can just be seen inside leads from the first floor to the battlements. As ever, when we're filming anything for the Leftwiches, it blows a gale. The arch on this side is recessed and there's a window behind it. Access to this room on the ground floor was for that floor only. Then there was another floor above it with a corridor leading along to the stairs that went up to the battlements, and this was accessed by the balustraded front. And then, long gone, there was the 3rd floor.
Best view you'll get of it though, actually.
Yeah, we can but try. Doddingham Hall, is it?
Designed by Samuel Wyatt, architect Samuel Wyatt.
And this was a base at one time to General Eisenhower in World War II.
Yeah. Where we're looking over now was a military camp. It's long gone.
So this was full of GIs?
That's right, yeah.
And there we have the entrance to the first floor. At Doddington near Nantwich, we have a good idea of what we could have expected to find the remains of on the site at Leftwich, the plot of which is shown here. The orientation has been changed because north is to the top, the text is the other way round. Quite a surprise. The area to be covered was the southern part here, around the Church of the Good Shepherd. As we expected, a mass of archaeology has been noted on this resistivity plot, and the reason is not surprising. There were very, very well constructed Victorian farm buildings all around there. So to excavate that would mean having to go through all those later layers to see what had been there before. A mammoth task. We expected that. So disappointing, but at least positive now we know for sure. One of the archaeologists was extremely interested in a curved feature about there that there's no known reason for. That was worth looking at. Now, the sting in the tail is that because they couldn't do, as said previously, the magnetic survey, to give the American sponsors their money's worth, the archaeologists decided to continue the resistivity scan, which of course would work, on the northern part of the site. This was against my wishes. I'm familiar with all the existing maps that cover that area, and nothing whatsoever other than open countryside is shown on any map, nothing at all. The only thing that is there, the only feature, was a wood that runs roughly like that. So, when the plot was finally printed out, we were astounded to find that some features, apparently man-made, could be seen. An angled feature here, two straight lines, right angle, and a straight line there, and other straight lines. Now I'm advised, and I know, that straight lines don't occur naturally in nature below the ground. If there's anything there like that, it's man-made, and especially angles. So we're astounded. And the archaeologists thought that there was a distinct possibility, not that it was, a possibility that this could be the base of the tower of Leftwich Hall. I had thought that would be about here. These are the remains of the farmhouse of Leftwich, and these are the remains of farm buildings. Nothing at all there. There was in fact a wood there. So that could be the tower. We don't know. It was sometime later that the penny dropped, as they say. The wood. The trees on that wood, many of which were destroyed in the gale, as I said earlier, in the 1960s, the circumferences could be measured of the remaining trees, from which it was possible to determine approximately how old they were, because there's a growth rate per year on girth of the tree in different types of setting. And it worked out those trees were approximately up to 180 years old. I say the penny drop. That means, of course, that whatever this archaeology is, it had to be beneath the surface before the trees grew. So therefore it must be older than that. And about 180 years ago, approximately, is when the hall was finally demolished. So it gives a distinct possibility that by accident, not design, we've uncovered the site of the hall. If so, it's extremely interesting because we don't know what its configuration is. It doesn't appear to tie precisely with what we were told about a quadrangular building, unless this is the quadrangular building and these are other buildings part of the whole, because it would have been a fairly extensive ground. Another point to note, on the surface of the site today there are cut sandstone blocks on the same orientation as this line and precisely there. They come through to the surface, which means that whatever there is very close to the surface indeed, which the archaeologists said. They said not less than 20 inches below. All the wavy bits, the uncertain bits of the landscape, are no doubt due to the tree roots that were there. So here we are. In all probability, we found what we wanted, not where we sought it, but by accident somewhere else. So where do we go from here? At the moment we're in 2006 now, and the Leftwich Historical Association of America have approached the University of Manchester to see about the prospect of trial trenches, which would be my ideal, to be put across known features from this plot, but they declined. They have said that a prerequisite is an assessment of all records, and then excavation can be can be considered after that. And it's quite an expensive task, to my mind, from what they propose. So I think it's improbable that work will go ahead. So there we are. There's a lot to do, a lot to look at, a lot more discussion to take place, but I now believe we've finally found the site of the tower of Leftwich Hall, the key feature. On the map, the American marker is shown there, and sadly that has been vandalised. That's been removed from the... So, there we go. Thanks to Mike Starr for that wonderful enlargement of the resistivity plot. I'm also thinking of Lillian Pyland, who was most interested in the tree stumps that were there when we first went on site, I think about 1982, some time ago. And I thought they were beech trees that had lined the drive to the hall, and that the hall was further over. Wrong again. So it looks as though at last we're getting somewhere with this. There's been a lot of work put into it, and there's still more to do. I'm minded of that Cheshire adage, it's a long road that doesn't have a turning. Bye for now.